They found a German shepherd crying by a foggy river, but when rescuers looked at what was floating in the water, they froze. At precisely 6:14 a.m., just as the fog still clung low over the sleepy English countryside, Margaret Thomas heard a sound that made her freeze on her morning walk. Something between a howl and a sob, echoing across the River Calder near her small village of Hebden Bridge. It was no fox, no badger. This was the cry of heartbreak. As Margaret reached the riverbank, her boots squishing into the damp earth, she spotted a lone German shepherd, his coat slick with dew, hunched near the reeds, emitting a low, mournful cry. He wasn't barking, he wasn't growling, he was grieving. Margaret, 72, a retired schoolteacher and longtime animal lover, instinctively reached into her coat pocket for the dog biscuits she always carried. But as she neared, the dog didn't move. Not a tail wag, not a glance. His eyes were fixed on something in the water. Margaret followed his gaze, and what she saw made her hand fly to her mouth. Floating in the slow-moving river was a small, sodden teddy bear. Not trash, not debris. A child's beloved toy, bloated with water, slowly drifting with the current. Something was terribly wrong. She dialed 999. By the time PC Daniel Worthington and local animal welfare officer Claire Benton arrived, the fog had lifted slightly, but the shepherd hadn't moved. He's been here a while, Claire noted, crouching down. His paws are muddy, like he's been pacing. But now he's just stuck. The dog's fur was matted with burrs and bits of grass. No collar, no tags. His ears twitched with every splash of water, every ripple from the river's gentle current. As Daniel approached the edge of the riverbank, he spotted something snagged on a branch. Pink, fabric, possibly clothing. He radioed for backup. Claire tried coaxing the dog with food, but he resisted until she moved a step closer to the water. Then suddenly, the shepherd bolted forward and barked, a single sharp, distressed bark, then turned and looked at them, like he was saying, "Follow me!" He darted down the river path. Margaret gasped. "He wants to show you something." The shepherd led them nearly a mile downstream. The path curved with the river, and brambles clawed at their jackets as they ran behind him. Every so often, the dog would pause, whimper, then continue, his body taut with urgency. Finally, they reached a shallow bend in the river. A tiny red rain boot sat wedged between stones. Claire picked it up. Children's size 10. Then they saw the second item, soaking wet. A polka dot backpack tangled in reeds. Daniel opened it carefully. Inside, a water-damaged storybook, a juice box, a tiny inhaler. "Oh no," he muttered. "This isn't just an abandoned pet. There's a child involved." Claire looked at the shepherd, who now sat beside the backpack. Head bowed, chest rising in short, anxious breaths. "Whose child, boy?" Claire whispered, kneeling. "Where is she?" The shepherd let out a mournful howl. As word spread, the police connected the dots quickly. A missing child alert had been issued late the night before. 5-year-old Amelia Carter had wandered from her grandparents' rural cottage, just 6 miles north, believed to be following her doggy friend. But the Carters didn't own a dog. "He visits sometimes," her grandmother had said. "Big shepherd." Amelia said he watches her through the window when it rains. "We thought it was just pretend." But now, as news of the shepherd's find reached the family, Amelia's mother collapsed to the ground, sobbing. "Her inhaler! She has severe asthma," her father choked. "She won't last long without it." Special search units were deployed, boats, drones, divers. But through it all, the shepherd kept leading deeper into the woods, always circling back to the river, always pausing, like he was listening for something only he could hear. And then he stopped and started barking furiously at a large drainage pipe jutting from the hillside. The pipe was half submerged in river water, cold, dark, just wide enough for a child to crawl into. Claire's heart sank. "Amelia!" No answer. The shepherd barked again, then lunged forward, splashing into the water, sticking his nose deep into the pipe's opening, whining, pawing, P.C. Worthington grabbed a flashlight and crouched low. He called Amelia's name into the echoing tunnel. His voice bounced back. And then, a sound. Not a voice, not a scream, a soft wheeze. Claire didn't wait. "Get me rope and a thermal blanket now!" Firefighters arrived just in time. Using a safety harness and floodlights, one of them crawled into the narrow tunnel and emerged minutes later, cradling a limp, shivering little girl in soaked pajamas. Her lips were blue, her chest heaved weakly. Wrapped around her hand, like a guardian's chain, was a clump of thick fur. The shepherd had gone in with her. He had stayed with her. Amelia was rushed to Calder Valley Medical Center, her body dangerously hypothermic. Her breathing labored from the hours without her inhaler. Her parents rode in the ambulance, gripping her hands, whispering pleas through tears. The EMTs kept her oxygenated, wrapping her in heated blankets. The shepherd, muddy and soaked, had refused to let the medics load her without him. Only when Claire gently tugged him back and whispered, "She'll be okay now, I promise," did he sit, still, watchful, silent. Outside the hospital, a crowd gathered. The story had already hit the local news. Mysterious German shepherd finds missing girl by river. Inside, doctors fought to stabilize Amelia. Hours passed. The waiting room buzzed with whispers and prayers. Finally, just after 11 p.m., the doors opened and a nurse stepped out smiling. "She's breathing on her own," she said softly. "She's going to be all right." At that very moment, outside the hospital doors, the shepherd stood and let out a single bark, as if he already knew. With Amelia safe, attention turned to the dog. Local vets scanned him for a microchip. Nothing. Posters were printed. Found German Shepherd River Calder. Calls came in from nearby towns, but none matched his description. Claire brought him to the shelter for the night. But the moment she closed the kennel door, he whined, clawed, and yelped, a low, distressed cry that echoed through the building. She sat beside his enclosure. "You don't want to be here, do you?" He just stared at the door. The next morning, Claire gave in. "Come on, let's go see her." At the hospital, Amelia spotted him the moment they wheeled her to the window. Her face lit up with a tired, joyous smile. "Doggy," she whispered hoarsely, arms outstretched. Security allowed the reunion in the hospital garden, and the scene was captured by a passing nurse. The dog pressing his head into the girl's chest as she giggled through oxygen tubes. The photo went viral, but even after that moment, the question remained. Who was he? Where had he come from? And how did he find Amelia? The mystery unraveled slowly. A week later, a call came in from a woman named Susan Merton in a neighboring town. She had seen the viral photo and broke down in tears. "That's Duke," she said. "He was my son's dog. My son, Officer Adam Merton. He died in the line of duty 2 years ago. Duke ran off the night we buried him. We searched everywhere. We thought he was gone for good." Claire drove to meet her, bringing Duke along. The moment the shepherd saw Susan, he whimpered and pressed his head into her coat. Susan cried as she knelt beside him. "He's older now, but it's him. It's really him." Claire explained everything. How Duke had shown up near the river weeks ago, always keeping to himself, never letting anyone near until Amelia. Susan pulled something from her purse, a folded letter in her son's handwriting. Adam always said Duke had a sixth sense about people, that he'd know if someone was in trouble, especially a child. Then she whispered, "Maybe he stayed by the river because he was waiting to help again." The Carters invited Susan to visit Amelia. When the two met, something unspoken passed between the girl and the older woman, connected by the dog who had saved them both in different ways. "I know he was yours," Amelia's father said gently. "We'd understand if you wanted to bring him home." But Susan shook her head. "No, he's found his new mission." Duke stayed with Amelia that night, sleeping curled at the foot of her bed, twitching occasionally in his dreams. The doctors said her recovery was faster than expected, and they credited Duke for keeping her warm, calm, and breathing through the terrifying night in that tunnel. The local paper ran a front-page story. "Hero dog saves child. A soldier's legacy lives on." 2 weeks later, the town held a small ceremony by the spot where Duke had first been found crying. A stone plaque was placed under an old oak tree beside the river. It read, "To Duke, the silent watcher, who guarded the river, found a child, and reminded us all that love never truly leaves." Amelia, still small and recovering, placed her favorite teddy bear beneath the tree. "For Duke," she said. Duke sat beside her, tail sweeping the grass, watching the current as it moved gently past, just as it had that morning. Only now, he no longer cried, because the river had finally given something back. Months passed. Amelia regained her full strength. She and Duke became inseparable. Wherever she went, Duke followed. Through school gates, to therapy appointments, even to birthday parties. And one evening, as the sunset bathed the hills in golden light, Amelia whispered to him, "You're my angel, you know." Duke tilted his head, then barked, once soft, content, because even though he had lost once before, this time he had found his forever home, and he would never let go again.